Township Board of Trustees for Tuesday, October 27th. Everybody else stand by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before us, we have our agenda. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections by fellow board members or department heads at this time?
Yes, he only has one. Under item 1, the letter B is going to be removed.
Okay.
Just for
Do we have any other additions, deletions, or corrections? Okay, the agenda will stand as amended. Just for the record, we've taken our show on the road here tonight, so we're over on the southwest side of the township at Fire Station 3. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like our residents opted to take advantage of the opportunity with it's in their backyard to come out, but we'll do some future meetings over here still moving forward. That being said, we don't have anything technically for the sheriff's report. Is there anybody that's got any questions at all? You guys are good as well? Okay. It's going to take us to unfinished business. I'm going to turn that over to Ms. Campbell.
Thank you. Item number 1 is a resolution that payment to all non-contractual employees for the years of longevity be added to their regular payroll and not on a separate voucher.
I will so move on unfinished business number 1.
Second.
Discussion. Again, this is just clarifying that it's one payment, not going to be 2 separate checks.
Yes.
And again, these are done at the beginning of typically at the beginning of the year.
November for this group, yes.
Yeah, this group of fire, I think, follow the same time frame. I think it's roads, it's different.
Road and fire, I think it was 1 check.
Oh, yeah, but they're different.
I mean, it's 2 checks, sorry.
During the time of the year, though.
Different times of the year.
Yes,
And I believe
correct.
one of them has separate checks. We want to make it easy for
Yes.
fiscal, 1 check.
Yep, exactly. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes. Thank you. Item number 2 is a resolution to waive the citation issued to David Conti for yard waste dumping and waive the $500 fine associated with the citation.
I will so move.
I'll second.
Discussion, I just, for the record, I spoke with him on the phone. That's why the letter for follow-up.
Yeah, this is typically what we do.
And it was from his property, so.
Yes, and he couldn't come. He's in college, he's taking classes, so he wrote a letter detailed. Again, what Eric and I do is we go and look at the property and make sure that it is really their property. It truly was. We borrowed a friend's truck. So I have that before you.
And I do have a question, Eric, while we're on that subject. So once that citation is given, then do we then move forward to discontinue the card? Or is that on a...
Typically, we will suspend the card if there is obvious blatant.
Okay. Yep, that makes sense.
The last instance,
building
we knew.
material.
Yeah.
That's a prime
Correct,
example, yes.
yes.
When we're kind of questionable, in this case, it was
Yep.
a dump truck, several visits, so we
Okay.
did cite and we investigated it with legit.
Yep, thanks. I'm good.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes. And that's the end of new business.
Thank you. It's going to take us to the fiscal officer's report. Mr. Wolf.
Thank you. Fiscal Officer number 1 is a request for resolution to authorize the payment of pending warrants in the amount of $414,248.78.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Second, Mr. Sabo. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 2 is a request for resolution to authorize payment of regular payroll in an amount not to exceed $250,000.
So moved.
Second.
That was a tie, so I'm clear for every
You're a tiebreaker.
Yeah. Flip a coin.
roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 3 is request for resolution to authorize the payment for the following medical claims.
I will move. Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 4 is the bank reconciliation for the month of September.
Anybody's got any questions for Tom, feel free to see him after the meeting.
Fiscal Officer number 5 is the investment report.
It's good.
Fiscal Officer number 6A is a request for resolution to authorize the benefits of longevity pay reinstated by Resolution 2534, 10/13/2020, payable on November 20th, 2020 to all non-bargaining unit employees who meet the requirements of the attached schedules.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 6B is a request for resolution to authorize the benefits of longevity pay payable on November 20, 2020 to members of the Plain Township Firefighters Association who meet the requirements of the attached schedule.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 7 is a request for resolution that the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and its certification be and the same are hereby accepted and be it further resolved that there be and is hereby levied on the tax duplicate of said township the rate of each tax necessary to be levied within and without the 10 mil limitation as follows, and be it further resolved that the fiscal officer of this board be and undersigned is hereby directed to certify a copy of this resolution to the county auditor of said county.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 8 is a request for resolution to authorize the following transfers.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
That concludes fiscal officer report.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf. It's going to take us back to our administrator, Ms. Campbell.
Thank you. Item number 1 is a resolution whereas Ohio Revised Code Section 505.10A provides that the Board of Trustees may sell property at a private sale upon 2 conditions. 1, that the property is no longer needed, and 2, the value of the property is less than $2,500. The township has accumulated scrap metal, which it no longer needs and has a value less than that amount. You'll see the bins below, they're both sheriff vehicles. So this resolution is to scrap the metal to be sold.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes. Thank you. Item number 2 is a resolution to authorize payment to Church Brothers for the September 2020 hauling in an amount not to exceed $3,875.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? As far as, where are we at year-to-date ballpark is a,
44% as of yesterday, off of last year's number.
And we're getting into lighter,
yeah.
you know, when leaves are a lot lighter, it's going to take longer to fill.
But a
I mean,
lot
I know it's
of-
a busier season, but to be less than 50% over where we were
I was gonna
last
say,
year
that's
is
a good-
huge.
that's a good-
How does that new claw work on that?
I'm sorry?
How does the new claw work on leaves?
I would give it a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's way more
I
efficient.
know a brush it does.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Nice.
actually interesting to watch them pick up with that. And we had 1,840 entries this past weekend, which is the highest this year.
Wow. The leaves are full. Mhm.
No further discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Thank you. Item number 3 is a resolution to authorize payment to the treasurer of the state of Ohio for our stormwater MS4 annual discharge fee in the amount of $2,100 to be paid from Fund 01A26.
I will move on administrator number 3.
I'll second.
Discussion?
This is an unfunded mandate. We do this yearly for being a municipal MS4. We pay to the EPA.
Roll call?
Mrs. Harless,
Yes.
Mr. Sabo.
Yes.
Mr. Hawes.
Yes.
Thank you. Item number 4 is a resolution to authorize, or to encumber and authorize payment for the COVID care business grants in the amount of $100,000 to be taken from Fund 14A08B to be used on a reimbursement basis for the township businesses for COVID-related expenses, and to further authorize Administrator Lisa Campbell, Fiscal Officer Tom Wolf to offer grants that exceed $10,000 in special circumstances.
I will move on admin number 4.
Second.
Discussion? The only thing I want, outside of, just give us a heads up on.
Yes,
ultimately who-
we will.
Who those are that way.
It may not happen,
Yeah.
we just have, we're reimbursing the first 60,000 we did. We're opening 100,000, but I don't have near the grant applicants yet for that. I've spoken to a lot of people, Tom's spoken to a lot of people, but we do expect spreadsheets, W-9, receipts. So,
And the deadline?
our deadline is November 6th,
Yeah.
because really, we've got November, it has to be spent by the end
20th.
of December or January now, but I don't want to put the board or Tom in a position where we could use this money maybe for something else, but we've encumbered it. I want to give us time to see what we need to do.
Honestly, we have led and we've communicated in every possible which way to all of these businesses
Yeah.
about these funds, so, I mean,
And fire is, when they go on calls or they're at businesses, they're handing them out for us too. Spend the paper twice, spend the social media, I don't know what else we can do.
I'm passing out at meetings.
Yeah, I'm getting phone calls, it's just not as much follow through.
I can tell you, perfect example of the guys at Giannino's, I was in Friday, because I saw, but I figured, business has been decent, I don't want to take advantage of it, I talked through the dynamics of what it is, how it works, so.
Tilapia, I mean, I could list off a
I
handful.
mean, we can lead the horses to water, you can't.
Yeah, I
you can't
feel
make
bad,
it,
but
right?
it's, yeah. And Tom, I'll give you this resolution since we added to it.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
Thank you.
Roll call?
Mr. Hawes,
Yes.
Mr. Sabo.
Yes.
Mrs. Harless.
Yes.
And I believe that's the end of, yes, that's the end of the administrator report.
Thank you, Ms. Campbell. That takes the fire department, chief.
Thank you. Item number 1 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize purchase and payment of a lantern UV system, disinfection system, in an amount not to exceed $15,000 to be taken from COVID funds, 14A04B.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Hawes,
Yes.
Mrs. Harless,
Yes.
Mr. Sabo.
Yes.
Item number 2 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize purchase and payment of 1 Life Pack 15 and accessories from Stryker Medical, not to exceed $27,000, taken from COVID money, 14A04B.
I will move on fire department number 2.
I'll second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Hawes,
Yes.
Mrs. Harless,
Yes.
Mr. Sabo.
Yes.
Item number 3 is a resolution by Plain Township Board of Trustees for the payment of the matching funds for 10% for SCBA and miscellaneous equipment to Howell Rescue, not covered by the 2019 FEMA grant, not to exceed $30,147.60 to be taken from Fund 21A02L.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes, Chuck, this is a lot of money to get from grant. So, we're putting out $30,000 for well over $300,000 worth of equipment, so, I'm just glad we were able to get this. And that's all air pack stuff, right? For the most part.
Air pack, masks, and bottles. So, and that'll get us for approximately 10 to 15 years for those,
Wow.
so.
Helps prolong the use of those levy vectors, situations like that.
Thank you again, Chief, for doing all the work and homework on doing, applying for it.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Okay, item number 4 is a resolution by Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize payment for SCBA mask and adapters from Howl Rescue not to exceed $24,350 to be taken from COVID money 14A04B.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 5 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees for payment for RIP packs and miscellaneous adapters for SCBA systems from Howl Rescue not to exceed $20,765 per attached quote to be taken from 21A02L.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 6 is to authorize purchase and payment to Motorola Solutions for reprogramming, updating of 800 megahertz radios not to exceed $4,000 to be taken from Fund 28A02I.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
And that concludes fire department. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. It's going to take us to road. Mr. Iacino.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, item number 1 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize payment to Caplia Studio Architects for architectural services for the mezzanine in the new storage building. Total amount not to exceed $2,228.75.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Item number 2 is a resolution to authorize the purchase of gasoline, oil, and diesel from Akatosh Oil at a cost not to exceed $25,000.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Item number 3 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees based upon the advice of legal counsel and our own research and understanding of coronavirus relief funding. Make the following motion to authorize the purchase and installation of new touchless restroom hand dryers from Abbott Electric, an amount not to exceed $4,165, taken from Fund 14A04 Tools and Equipment.
I'll move on road 3.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
And the final item, number 4, is a resolution by the Board of Trustees to authorize payment, purchase, and installation of LED strip lighting and fixtures from Abbott Electric not to exceed the amount of $4,375 from Fund 11A08 Buildings and Additions.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Thank you.
It's going to take us to zoning. Mr. Farrar.
Thank you, sir. Item number 1 is a resolution to declare item A as a nuisance abatement.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
And that's all for zoning.
It's going to take us to the Parks Department. Mr. Steinberg.
Item number 1 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees based on the advice of council and our own research and understanding of the coronavirus relief funding to approve the purchase and payment to Doug Mullen Plumbing LLC for touchless faucets, sinks, and toilets and urinals at all 3 parks. Township Hall and Fire Station 4 in an amount not to exceed $15,700 to be taken from Fund 14A08.
I'll move on Parks 1.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
That concludes Parks.
Thank you. Nothing under the law director. It's going to take us to communications. Turn that
Can I
over.
turn that over to you? I didn't receive that right now.
Got it. It's labeled, it's dated dated October 27th. Plain Township trustees would like to thank the Stark County EMA for the 4-stop the bleed kits they received for mass casualty incidents. EMA applied for a grant in Plain Township, received 4 kits based on its population. They are going to be located throughout the township. In such case, they would be needed. Nothing else in our communications. Brings us to the portion of the meeting. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to address the board under public speaks? Nothing. Concerns of trustees? Do either of you? I just, for the record, I know we've already started to get it on social media, but in case anybody watches this, CM Center Christmas Drive will start November 1st through December 5th. The box is at the office, ready to go.
And we'll have tags on the tree too.
Well, are you guys doing tags?
Yep.
Just to create general?
They were created by the student
Okay.
to take a tag. People are used to taking a tag and then bringing it back. Instructions on it too.
Okay. Perfect. That's the only thing I had. Concerns of the fiscal officer?
No concerns.
Okay, it'll take us to the approval of the minutes for October 13th, 2020, and I will so move.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
There's no need for executive session, so we'll make a motion to adjourn at 6:21 p.m. from this regular meeting.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.